Ba 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 ba. Dear Gene, what the hell was that? Spock and Kirk are acting like a jealous old married couple. Sulu is brainwashed to be happy for the second time in 3 episodes. And by the way, where are all these idiots getting their food from on this hippy-dippy planet if there are no animals? I'm trying not to cancel this show, but you're making it very difficult. Sincerely, we're replacing you with reruns of The Time Tunnel. NBC Executive. Click.
Actually, no. I'm surprised no singing. This was actually very popular. Welcome to Yelling at Gaseous Anomalies, everyone. I'm your host, Captain Matt Ross, and I'm accompanied by my XO, the very disappointed Michael Pontone, or at least disappointed about this. How we doing, Dad Pontone? How are we tonight?
We welcomed an ensign to the starship, and my God, am I smitten. So, yes, but I don't try not to bring things too personal. And no, I was not about to launch into some, I don't know, rendition of Yellow Submarine or Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds about this quote-unquote episode. Okay, no, I'm being too harsh. I'm trying to be funny. It wasn't bad, but we are coming off of back-to-back Space Seed and Taste of Armageddon. And listen, we'll get into it, but it's like I just saw like a scramble of several of the worst episodes getting better, but also a lot of rehashed stuff that for things that, a lot of rehashed story elements in a fairly short-lived series so far. But here, come on, let's get into it.
Well, yeah, because people don't even know what we're talking about. We're talking about tonight's episode of Star Trek, the original series, This Side of Paradise, which was aired on March 2nd, 1967. It is a weird story, I will tell you that one. Actually, since you were saying like NBC was complaining, actually NBC did complain about this episode. They're going, this is like the 3rd story in a row where the crew of the Enterprise are taken over by things. You have Miri, we have a disease taking over people and killing them. You have Return of the Archons. You kind of have something taking over the Enterprise of the crew, trying to kill them. And now we have this. They come to a planet of spores, man, to try and to protect them from Berthold radiation, a totally made-up radiation. But let me read to you the totally cool TV guide close-up from the date that we're talking about. And here we go. On the planet Omnicron Ceti III, Kirk seeks an antidote to paradise. The colonists on the planet enjoy an idyllic existence. They have been infected by spores that produce a strange disease, perfect physical health, and complete peace of mind. Now, that's just a brief snippet of the TV guide thing, which goes on for, actually, believe it or not, 4 more paragraphs. But this was actually, it's a weird one. It's kind of like, you could say, being banned from Eden. Yay, brother, for those of you who don't know what I'm saying later. But this was a story written by Stoll, who wrote The Corbomite Maneuver, but he was Jerry Soule, rather. He was so angry that the person who actually took over and finished writing it, D.C. Fontana, they changed his name to Nathan Butler for the script. This was given to D.C. Fontana to clean up because they thought that the original script, sucked. I went through over 12 rewrites, just like everything else on Star Trek. There are numerous rewrites and so forth. There were 12 revisions, but this was a test of D.C. Fontana to see if she could take what they considered garbage and turn it into good stuff. I think actually she did a pretty good job. And
let's just go from the top about all the things that we've already seen, and we're only 22 episodes into this series. Okay, So from the top, Sulu getting brainwashed to be in love and peace. Same thing happened just a few episodes in the Archons.
Yes, but that's not what that actually was originally supposed to happen here too. In fact, that's one of the things DC Fontana changed.
What do you mean? He did. What are you talking about?
No. This was the original idea behind this was that Sulu was going to fall in love and have a romance scene, but DC Fontana came up with the idea and said, you know what would really What would really work would be having someone who's in control of his emotions actually fall in love and lose it. So that's what this story actually turned out to be. It became a Spock-centric story.
That's
it also
fine.
was a Kirk, right?
But here, okay, a bunch of things. We already, in Man Trap, first episode, we have McCoy meeting an ex-girlfriend and being, or, she looks like his ex-girlfriend and being smitten. And we have Kirk in court-martial meeting his ex-girlfriend. Oh my God, how small is this galaxy? Everyone just runs into each other and they all used to date?
Well, yes. There's only like 200 people in the universe beyond the Enterprise. Now, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but Spock didn't know his girlfriend was there. Kirk in court-martial could have guessed because she is part of the Judge Advocate General's Corps. You did say that there's probably only 2 lawyers, of which there are not. And then for Spock meeting his ex-girlfriend, he knew she was there. That just happened to be on the expedition. You also forgot one, Christine Champel meeting Roger Corby in What a Little Girl's Made Of. So I'm very shocked that you didn't memorize
I don't remember
everything.
anything from that episode.
You don't even remember the polystyrene penis that Captain
That's
Kirk was
all
holding?
because you keep talking about it. That's the only thing that I even remotely associated with it. Captain, please, you're better than that.
Maybe. Let's go back into this, though. This is the Enterprise is sent to Omnicron Ceti III to try and rescue a colony because a new radiation was just discovered called Berthold Rays, which apparently kill everything in a short amount of time. It actually dissolves or kills all living tissue after a certain amount of time. This is something new for the Federation. They just found out about it, so that's what the Enterprise is there, is like on a mission of mercy to relocate the colonists.
What are the chances of survivors?
Absolutely none, Captain. Berthold Rays is such a recent discovery. We do not yet have full knowledge of their nature. It is known, however, that living animal tissue disintegrates under exposure.
And they can't reach them, so they're expecting the worst. And when they get down to this farm, which is, by the way, the Disney farm, it's an actual place, they find actually everyone's alive and well. It's kind of weird when they get down there.
Really dug the concept, and I really like the idea of this mystery of like, hey, they should all be dead. How are they still alive? And I really like the idea of them having this kind of symbiotic relationship. Although right off the bat, I've got 1,000 questions. How is this a symbiotic relationship? What are the spores getting out of it? And also,
what? No, I was just going to say you haven't met them yet at that point. But, I mean, if you get really right down to it, it is kind of a weird experience. They land, they see nobody. Where was everyone hiding? But it's not like you can't hear the transporters, right?
They also, I can understand why the writer was upset at DC Fontana. They forgot Matt. It's like when they made the Flatiron Building and they forgot to put in women's bathrooms. They forgot to put in the conflict. They forgot to put in that the spores would cause a bad outcome. All we have from this is that they protect you from all diseases and they make you happy. Why don't you just put this everywhere? What's the catch? There's no catch.
There sure is a catch. You don't achieve anything. That actually one of the characters actually even the colony head realizes it. That's at the end. What have they achieved? They've achieved nothing. They're still the same amount of people. They haven't built anything. They haven't really gained anything. This is, you might want to say it's mildly anti-communist. They haven't done a darn thing in this episode.
Just think about the implications. If you had a medication that would cure depression and cancer,
and not have children, and not grow, not learn, not create. That's the type of society you want to live? A bunch of people living there, drooling out of the sides of their mouths? You might as well just give them a cell phone and play Fortnite.
Have you seen the modern state of American society and what everyone aspires to be?
But is that what you want to do? You want to be there and do nothing?
Yeah, I'm telling you, they forgot. Someone forgot. They put this to press and they missed it. Like they forgot to include something. I swear to you that they were like,
no, they didn't.
Crap.
This is actually an anti-drug episode, believe it or not.
Where's the anti? It should have been something
what-
where like it drives like one in every 10,000 people into okay, that's what it should have been, right? That it gives them uncontrollable homicidal urges. So you know how they said that there were 3 different colonies?
Right.
That those colonies were killed by this one. Something.
Well, but they haven't increased their population size. You saw no children, by the way, even though they
There
said
were never any
150
children anywhere.
Families. That's what they were originally came down with. For all you know, they're all dead. Who knows? The animals all died. Something to be said about children eventually. But, there's nothing there. They haven't made more agricultural stuff. It's an agricultural colony. It's supposed to be exporting goods to the greater good. And they haven't done squat. All they've done is just made enough for them. There's nothing else. They're actually being quite selfish and almost, you would say, narcissistic in their lifestyles. They only care about themselves.
I heard Sandoval saying they could grow anything here. That's true, sir. They've got a variety of crops in. Grains, potatoes, beans.
Make your point.
Well, sir, for an agricultural colony, they actually have very little acreage planted. There's enough to sustain the colony, but very little more.
It's like a jigsaw puzzle, all one color. No keys where the pieces fit in.
Because they're just there to be, not do anything else. I don't know. I think we want to achieve and to do things better than ourselves and not just kind of sit down on a planet and do nothing. Well, you think that's the ideal there? I don't think so.
It's not an
you could
ideal,
say
but
that-
it's not like, oh my God, we got to get these people out of here.
Well, no. The reason why they had to get these people out of there is because first of all, they had to get the Federation says if the colony's alive when they get there, I was expecting them all to be dead, even though I've seen this 100 times. Get them out of there because it's dangerous. The spores protect them, but they also take away all drives and ambition. So, if you're calling that Eden, I guess you could say Captain Kirk is Satan or a snake, if you will. But there is really no reason to do anything. You're just high all the time. What is it that they do? Nothing.
I suppose. Again, listen, I don't know. We're not making an anti-drug message or anything, but the fact is that in modern drugs, of course, I've never touched a drug in my life, so I wouldn't know.
Liar.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. The point is, there is no free lunch. You're gonna do an opiate or something that dumps all your dopamine at once. It's gonna feel good for a while, and you're gonna have to pay for it later on. And that's why you got to do everything in moderation. Because there are
here you have no moderation.
But that's because there are bad outcomes. It hurts you. The human body is not meant. We evolved for millions and millions of years without modern psychopharmacology that gives us concentrated doses of things that we were only ever supposed to experience in tiny little bits. Great for tiny little experiences once a year, once every 5 years. But of course, if you start abusing it, that's when you got major problems. The point is that if there was a consequence to these spores, they forgot to write it in. Captain, why are you fighting me? You don't see that they just stopped writing, just like they stopped writing in Miri, or they just stopped writing in, I don't know, Shore Leave, where they're just like, I don't know, just
You love Shore Leave.
cut and print.
You love it. You love Shore Leave, especially the fight music. You're going to walk into that every time. But I will tell you that that's not the story here. They're expecting either everyone dead or some sort of progress. So you got neither. They're just basically holding the line. They're failures in the fact that these colonists who are supposed to make a thriving, growing community are making, nothing. They're not doing anything. They just happen to exist. Now, I will say it is a little bit of a weak story, but everyone knew it was a weak story, so they were trying to save it and get what they could out of it. Jerry Saul's script had terrible dialogue, terrible everything. So Fontana basically, Dorothy basically rewrote it almost from the ground up with a general idea. In fact, the original script was called Sandoval's Planet. She changed the name of the planet. It was like it was Sandoval's Planet. Then it was changed to Power Play. Then it was changed to The Way of the Spores. And Fontana changed it to This Side of Paradise. So it changed a whole bunch of things over here. NBC and Robert Justman were saying, like, this is too much like, Landru.
I am Landru.
Was complaining about that, but they had what they could get. One of the things about this, which later caused a kerfuffle, is that Roddenberry was desperate for writers, and Jerry Saul didn't like the fact that Fontana basically rewrote his script entirely, and he had to share credit with her, and he made a big deal about it in the Writers Guild of America, and they had arbitration, and he insulted Roddenberry. It took over 2.5 years for Jerry Saul to get back into the good graces of Roddenberry, because he felt that Fontana basically changed everything, and they got into a pissing match over it. But that's neither here nor there.
I don't know. Like, what do you mean desperate for writers? Like, where was Richard Matheson or Bradbury or Beaumont? Do you know Beaumont?
Yeah, they weren't. They were not in this. They did not submit to Star Trek. So basically,
they were working writers at the time. I mean, what else are they doing?
Right. But they were writing on their own. They did not want to write for the big Hollywood machine. So you had Gene Roddenberry, Gene Kuhn, you had Steve Karabatsis, who actually was quitting at that time, and Dorothy Fontana, and they were soliciting scripts from outside of them because they can't remember everything, or actually write everything, and it was very difficult. It's still very weird when we're getting back to our story of the planet. There's no animals. That's one of the weirder things over there. They have a full farm, and there's no animals at all. What did you think of that anyway when you're down on the farm? Any thoughts as to that? Or
What exactly are we looking for anyway, sir?
Whatever doesn't look right, whatever that is. When it comes to farms, I wouldn't know what looked right or wrong if it were 2 feet from me.
Did you like the way everything looked?
I mean, again, they have did I miss something that they have 2 people? Like, that's it? Did we ever see that any other farmhands? We had Sandoval, and we had that lady who, man, she's, once again, good casting. She was an attractive person.
Jill Ireland?
Yeah, 2024 standards. She had piercing blue eyes, beautiful woman. And listen, too, the acting was great in this, and I liked seeing Spock goofy and happy. I liked a lot of stuff in here. It's just that, again, when I'm hitting Star Trek, when I'm with Star Trek, the number one thing is the strength of the writing, because it is a high concept sci-fi show. I'm coming to Star Trek for the science fiction concept. So when there are gigantic plot holes that I could, put the Enterprise through, it takes me out of it. I start looking, it distracts me from the fact that the acting is pretty good. Once again, whoever the set designer or the location scout is, they're doing a great job at using, the beauty of California where they were shooting. And
Jerry Finnerman.
They're doing a great job. But, I mean, again, I'm just like, what is the point? What is the point of this? And they were trying to do some good character stuff. And, again, I really liked how, dude, I know that this is, silly and juvenile, but it really makes you reflect. Kirk and Spock are they're like partners. They're like a husband and wife. Kirk is genuinely, he's not concerned about the health of his crew. The first thing that you see on his face when he sees Spock flitting around is jealousy. He even says, what the hell is this? He doesn't say, are you feeling well? He's like, what the hell is going on here? As if he stumbled across someone making out with his husband.
Well, that's not exactly true. He's trying to, he's realizing that he wants to know what's going on. There's a mystery here. Why are the colonists alive? At this point, you're talking about where Spock gets shot by these weird pod plants, and he loses his logical control, and he falls for the woman who he met years ago back in Starfleet Command or Starfleet Academy, or wherever the hell they met. And now he's devil may care and free and happy and not following his rigid lifestyle of a Vulcan. Controlled, logical.
I love you. I can love you.
With a control of his emotions and complete control of everything about himself. Now he's kind of more like a devil may care human. He's just enjoying himself and having a great time. But that's also part of the insidiousness of these spores. It basically makes you forget all your cares and troubles. It is kind of like a drug. Kirk isn't jealous. Actually, I think that's one of the funniest lines in there. Goes when he goes, Spock, come back here to the landing zone. We're going to leave. No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. What? No, I don't think so, sir. I think that's actually pretty funny.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so what?
I don't think so, sir.
Yeah.
That's kind of stuff is funny. And he and McCoy and Kirk are like, it's kind of strange, and it is kind of strange. It's actually a little disturbing that our controlled, and it's not like he's controlled in a human way of being repressed. He's controlled because that's his lifestyle of all Vulcans. So it is kind of weird, So I don't think it's jealousy. I think there is some genuine concern. And Kirk even says everywhere.
Later on, I'm just telling you, this was kind of compounded by the fact that later on, when Spock has lost, again, I'm jumping around because when I've dealt with, I think that you've seen this from when we're reviewing stories that don't really have a very tight through narrative. Your criticism ends up becoming kind of nonlinear because it's just like a blob of a story. It's not like a nice arrow of a story. So later on, when Spock is speaking with his ex-girlfriend, and he says, like, my obligations to that man up there on that ship, he's talking just about Kirk. He's not talking about the Federation or any vows of duty that he took. He's like, him. I am indebted to this one man. It's romantic. It's not sexual. I'm not saying shipping or any sort of slash fiction. I'm just saying it's being written like it's a romance.
Well, a lot of slash fiction launched from this one episode. In fact, I alluded to it in our very first episode. I have a wave file of Kirk and Spock having a sexual dalliance, or it's implied, and a lot of it comes from this episode.
Read it.
About like arousing. I have to play it, but arousing his inner anger. He's much stronger and bigger than me, says Kirk.
Mr. Spock is much stronger than the ordinary human being. Aroused, his great physical strength could kill.
You have things like that. By the way, Jill Ireland, who plays Layla Kalani, who is the botanist who first discovered the plants, is taking over. By the way, the plants aren't just plants. They're some sort of group consciousness, because after they get sprayed with everything, they all say, yes, we will all be together. So it's not as maybe good-natured as you think. Who knows? Maybe there's an intelligence behind it, and they just haven't reached enough people yet. There's only 150 people. Now they could get another 450.
Almost the entire ship's complement has been down.
I'm very pleased. The entire landing operation is proceeding quite well.
Theoretically, I did like the design of the spores. I thought they did a very good job. And I actually, when I first saw it, I watched it twice. When I first watched it, and the spores hit them for the first time, I was like, well, that's bad writing. Why is Kirk not reacting? Like, is that going to be explained later on? And then he reacts on the ship when he gets hit with the spores. But then I looked closer and it's like, no, the spores, they did not hit him the first time. They hit the other two people. They went on their face and they just happened to miss him. Did you catch that?
And also Kirk was angry. Yeah, no, I saw it. Kirk was angry, by the way.
Oh, I missed that
The spores
part.
actually from were designed by Hua Chang. He actually used the same plants in an Outer Limits episode called Specimen Unknown. Yeah, Kirk is pretty pissed off, and he does a very Horatio Hornblower thing by clearing his throat as he sees Spock laughing on a tree.
Tree branch.
By the
that
way,
was very cute.
That's actually one of the best scenes in there. Nimoy was worried that him breaking his normal, logical, calm demeanor would actually destroy the character, but Dorothy DC Fontana talked him into it, and I think it did an excellent job. But it actually showed a nice side of Spock, that there's actually humanity behind him, or rather, an emotional creature behind him, which we already knew. But to see him in a more human-like emotional thing is kind of neat.
Yeah, no, I always like when they increase the lore, and I love Vulcan lore, as I've said multiple times, that I love that, they are not emotionless beings like Data. They are very emotional beings who have, through centuries of practice and intent, suppressed their feelings. And I like that it can come out. So it's not like it's coming from nowhere. But, yeah, And I also like that they, reference. Wait, had they referenced before that Vulcans are stronger? Before this episode,
Yes, they have. They have. So, but what I like also in this a little bit, where they're on the planet, you also see some other characters over there. You have Michael Barrier as Lieutenant DeSalle. He was the guy from Squire of Gothos. He's back again. He's the one who actually gives McCoy these plants. He says, "Hey, Doc, look at these plants really closely," as they're beaming them up to the ship. And that's how it gets to the Enterprise, which is terrible. I thought, but, for the Enterprise, it's terrible. It's actually terrible for Kirk. You thought that Kirk was just acting like a jerk this entire time, or?
No, I didn't think he was acting like a jerk. I actually really enjoyed that he was being very Starfleet about it and being suspicious and, went straight to trying to find out the solution. I mean, he sorted it out all on his own. He didn't need anyone's help to figure out that becoming agitated and angry is enough to snap you out of it. But I thought that what he was saying, I thought it was very funny. His kind of schoolyard level insults to Spock, just it reminded me of like this very funny Simpsons episode where Homer is trying under laboratory conditions to annoy Ned Flanders, and he looked down at cards and he's like, "I had sexual relations with your spouse or significant other."
Oakley dokley.
Exactly. So it was a little mundane, but I like that he got it, and I find it fascinating that he went for, straight to racist stuff, where he's like, "Vulcans suck."
All right, you mutinous, disloyal, computerized half-breed. We'll see about you deserting my ship. Makes you think you're a man. You're an overgrown jackrabbit, an elephant with a hyperactive thyroid.
Captain, if you'll excuse me.
What can you expect from a simpering, devil-eared freak whose father was a computer and his mother an encyclopedia?
My mother was a teacher. My father, an ambassador.
Your father was a computer, like his son. An ambassador from a planet of traitors. The Vulcan never lived who had an ounce of integrity.
Captain, please don't.
You're a traitor from a race of traitors. Disloyal to the core. Rotten like the rest of your subhuman race. And you've got the gall to make love to that girl. Does she know what she's getting, Spock? A carcass full of memory banks who should be squatting on a mushroom instead of passing himself off as a man. You belong in a circus, Spock, not a starship. Right next to the dog-faced boy.
Your whole
but I do like
civilization.
the race of traitors from a planet of traitors. And then also we find out that Spock's parents, who we haven't met yet, but we will, we find out that his mother was a teacher and his father was an ambassador. Mm-hmm. You're from, that was a whole big, but actually, right before that, there's something else where Kirk's wandering the ship alone. It's kind of, he's like upset. He's all by himself. I like the way Uhura is kind of like spacey. Oh, I short-circuited the subspace transmitter. We'll just need it, so I can't really help you. Everyone's like out of their mind.
Oh yeah. By the way, my wife was watching this too, and she pointed out, did Nichelle Nichols gain 10 pounds? Because her skirt is right up her ass. I mean, it's really short this time around.
That's just because the skirt is just very, very short. She did not gain 10 pounds.
She looked amazing. I'm not knocking anything.
She does. Hell, I'd go out with her, but my wife probably would have an issue with that. Anyway, so I also like the fact that Kirk is actually ordering people back to their positions. They're like, no, and we finally see Lieutenant Leslie have an actual speaking lie. That's Eddie Paskey. He's like the biggest extra. So you got to go back to your jobs. He's like, no, this is mutiny. Yeah, I love that. Like he's saying it like matter of factly.
Get back to your stations. Get back to your stations.
I'm sorry, sir. We're all transporting down to join the colony.
I said get back to your station.
No, sir.
This is mutiny, mister.
Yes, sir. It is.
Yeah, we're leaving you. What are you going to do about it? There's more of us than you. But I think that's kind of a good moment also with Kirk. He's like alone, and he has a duty in a sense of obligation to command the Enterprise, which is his biggest love of his life. And this is the second time he kind of admits that the Enterprise is his number one lady, actually. I just thought, would you think of, did you have any thoughts of like where Kirk finally turned over for a second or anything like that on the ship where he's by himself?
No, I mean, again, looking at the seams and the bad writing, which of course, the worse the writing is, the more you can see the strings on the puppet show. So, like, I'm looking at this and what am I trying to say here?
Maybe if you have a mint julep, it'll help you.
Where's McCoy? We went off to create something called a mint julep.
Oh, yeah, that's another really funny thing. So, like, where the hell is everyone? Where is everyone? Where'd everyone go? Where'd the entire crew of the Constitution class go? Scotty's not around. There are, like, 2 people on this planet. You've got a couple of nameless extras. Tell me this came in way under budget. Don't tell me this went over budget.
Now, it did not go over budget, but it was filmed one day extra. It did go under budget. I will tell you that it cost $171,681.
On what? It used all the same sets.
We had to use location shooting. They did 3 days at one. They had to pay for their Jill Ireland, and they also had to pay for Frank Overton as Sandoval, and then they also did shooting, and there were special effects, believe it or not, which were the plants. And, they had a whole bunch of people. You had a Kelowitz. You had also Lieutenant DeSalle. So
Amazon tells
Kelowitz,
me
who was also
that poor Sandoval actor died right after this.
Yes, at age 48.
How?
At age 48, he had a heart attack.
I mean, the guy looked like he was 68, sadly.
He was Sheriff Tatum in To Kill a Mockingbird. Kelowitz, who was in, he was the tactical officer from Arena, and also he's the guy from Galileo 7, which, by the way, was airing as they were filming this. The guy Kelowitz, he actually died not too much later from a motorcycle accident. So he got 2 deaths from this cast already. They had to pay also for this set, which was actually the property of Disney. It's called the Golden Ranch. And because Jill Ireland was sick for a couple of days, they thought she had measles. They had to film everything around her, and when it was time to film the rest of it, they actually were left with what was a rock mining area, but they found some area with grass and a tree, which is where Spock was. So that's what they were paying for all the locations. By the way, the cost of $171,681 today is worth $1,656,005.20 in 2024 dollars. I always like it always at 20
Well, that must have all gone to craft services and goofballs, because it certainly was not on the screen.
Well, also don't forget you have James Kirk's American Tourister suitcase. That to me is my biggest WTF moment in this episode, besides the plans. Is that suitcase is clearly an American Tourister. I'm going to put something on the community board that I made with that as well, because it's hilarious looking. So anyway, Kirk's about to abandon the ship. He gets pissed at the lights, and he's also annoyed that he's leaving and he can't leave his darling wife, the USS Enterprise. And he realizes he has to trick Spock to come up and piss him off when we get to see Spock come up and, we have that insult fest that you like, which it is grade school. And he, as Kirk points out, it's not every day that an executive officer gets to beat his captain several times. Don't get any ideas, Mike, all right?
It isn't every first officer who gets to belt his captain several times.
So,
never.
Yeah, I don't know. You look kind of murderous lately.
Not towards you, Captain.
Yeah, hold on. Let me get out my metal pipe. But you can see how strong Spock is. He bends that metal pipe. But that's pretty much it. They cure the spore disease. I do like the way McCoy and Sandoval get into it. He goes, we don't need doctors. Oh, yeah? And then McCoy's insult's pretty funny.
What sort of work? I'm a doctor. Not anymore, of course. We don't need you, not as a doctor.
Oh, no? You'd like to see just how fast I can put you in a hospital?
But you were pointing out to me before we were recording that you were wondering where McCoy got his glass and crazy straw for his mint juleps.
Yeah, seriously. What is there, a bar someplace on this planet?
Maybe.
And again, what are they eating, man? What are they nourishing themselves with?
Potatoes, some corns, and some beans. That's actually what DeSalle points out. He said you could have grown lots more, but there aren't any. When they're asked where the animals, and they're all dead, Sandoval says, well, we're vegetarians. They're vegetarians, and they're all addicted to spores, man. But, yeah. So the way to get rid of the spores is with loud, annoying noises, apparently. I do think that's... But that's where Sandoval admits they haven't done anything. They haven't made anything. They haven't gone anywhere on this colony. They're just kind of living in a fog.
If everything had just gone according to plan, they could have been destroyed by deadly radiation.
That's
what
true.
What a tragedy.
Or if there was no Berthold radiation, which is a totally made-up radiation, by the way, they could have made a thriving, growing community and making millions of credits. Who knows? Everyone could be driving their latest Mercedes SEL hover car. You don't know that. But yeah. Yeah, but, that's actually kind of sad that in some ways, even Kirk and Spock and McCoy at the end, they do notice, and we might as well just come to the end since I see you're in love with this episode, because there isn't that much there. They, while everyone's fighting and beating the crap out of each other on the planet because of the loud noise, and everyone comes back up, McCoy notes that this is the second time they got kicked out of Eden. And Kirk points out, you know what? Maybe we weren't meant to sit down and, relax and drink our mint juleps, but to, always be doing something and always working. The good Protestant work ethic, as the folks would say.
Sounds very Starfleet to me. And listen, just like they were going to, in Star Trek Insurrection, when they were going to use the planet in the Briar Patch to reverse aging and everything, the Federation should have just had these spores be everywhere, and if someone was dying of a disease, just send them down there for, whatever, a year. Like a sanitarium. Relax. Chill out. Come back then.
I don't know, you hippie freak. You gotta always work. Work until you die. Isn't that the rule of life?
I know, but what if there are people... Surely there are people... Again, we've talked about this. There is Earth, and Earth is a hippy-dippy colony. And then there is the Federation that rules Earth, that espouses peace and love and equality and everything being effortless and, essentially you only have to work as hard as you want to because we're in a post-scarcity utopia. But we see that through the guise of Starfleet. Starfleet is the go-getters, the people who don't want to just sit on Earth drinking mint juleps. They're the ones who want to get out there, put themselves in danger,
the coffee
and
generation.
Not show any fear, because they're like, well, this is what appeals to me. I could be at home painting, but I want to get out there and do stuff. So, what am I trying to say here?
So you mean you would spend the rest of your time at the Know Nothing colony sitting on your butt, drinking your mint julep, going yeah, I don't feel like doing nothing. That's your ideal?
No, I definitely wouldn't. Yeah, I'd probably be in Starfleet. I think I'd like to be at a base. I don't think I want to be on a ship. I think I'd like to be at like a Deep Space 5 or something.
So you'll be the judge
Federation
advocate.
Deep Space.
You'll be the judge advocate general there. I'll see. I'll be on the starship. I'll be flying out somewhere. That's what I am.
You
Mr.
could
Adventure.
Get killed your very first week out.
I don't know about that. Although
you've read Red Shirts, right, by John Scalzi.
Yeah, and then when I was part of my Starfleet ship, I was in operations, so I did have technically a red shirt, although it was, Wrath of Khan, so it was more of a red jacket. I do like the last little bit of where Spock, after he has lost the spores, and it's at the end, and he's on the bridge. Kirk says, "We haven't heard much from you," and Spock's last line, it was the first time in his life he was happy. I thought that was both sad and fascinating, as Spock would say.
Yeah, but he doesn't need happy. You know what I mean?
Well, but that does tell you, it makes you wonder about the entire mindset of the Vulcans. You were saying how they suppress everything, so and everyone agrees to that. Maybe they do need some happiness now and again, as we all do.
For the first time in my life, I was happy.
We all need happiness in our life and things to do and people to talk to and a couple of mint juleps here and there and, maybe a couple of beers later in the week. Who knows? So...
Matt, by the way, here's the thing. Okay, sure, you can ask a Vulcan, when's the last time you were happy? You can also ask a Vulcan, when's the last time you were sad? When's the last time you were afraid? They might be like, decades, when I was a child, maybe. You know? I mean, Mike
That's true.
Stokasa was talking about this, and they were reviewing Star Trek Picard season 3, and there was a lineup where Vadic, the evil changeling, was looking to execute people, and Mike was talking about how well the actor playing the Vulcan crew member on the Titan was doing it, where everyone looked nervous, and she's just like, she's looking back and forth, she's looking to see what happens next, but she's not panicking. Her heart is not in her throat. She understands that in the next moment she could die or she could live, and she doesn't really, not that she doesn't care, but that she understands that there's no reason to have an emotional response to it. So everyone else is shitting their pants, and she's cool as a cucumber. And sadly, she is the one who gets killed.
That's right. That's Stephanie Chijowski. She's a Vulcan. Her name is Lieutenant Tavine. That's because I can Google fast. But but that's true. But then that makes you wonder about Spock. Maybe it's because of his half Vulcan heritage. He has some sort of emotional control issues, and maybe he's not really under control of logic. Not like I'm saying he's like a mail-order Vulcan, like Worf from Next Gen is a mail-order Klingon, where he's learning everything from books. But maybe Spock, because of his human half-nature, takes towards human emotionality and so forth, and likes it more or wants it more. Or maybe Vulcans actually do want to express it on occasion, and they just haven't found a way to do it yet. And great in a crunch.
Go be a Romulan.
Drink some Romulan ale, though. That's some good stuff there.
Delicious.
So I really think that's pretty much the whole story. I mean, they get there, they find everyone alive, they discover this alien thing, which is almost a hive mind, but not quite, and then they get everybody off after playing like loud music or something. I thought was kind of cool, and it has a basis. I mean, in Waco, Texas, they would use the sounds of like rabbits being killed to try to force people out and disturbing noises. They've used that for psychological warfare and infrasound. You ever hear of infrasound, Matt? No. Are you playing it now? But I do know they used a loud. They played Panama continuously to get Noriega to surrender when the United States government was coming for him for his drug dealing activities in Panama. They just kept playing Panama like that again and again, and that's as far as I can go without getting a copyright strike. So, yeah. But it's a pretty light story. I still think that if DC Fontana made this 100 times better, you have to wonder how bad the actual script was.
I was about to say, do anyone have access to the original script by any chance?
Well, not in anything I've seen, but I'm sure we could, if we hunted, if any of our fans out there has it, and by the way, hi all 6,000 of you, if you want to, anyone out there has it, feel free to forward it to us. Remember to mail it to yellingatgas@gmail.com. But let's go, I guess, just wrap it up, unless there's something else out here that you want to hit upon.
No, we can wrap it up. Again, where the hell did he get that mint julep from? But whatever. Why ask questions?
Bennigan's. Let's... All right, well then, on our very scientific 1 to 10 scale, Mike, what are you going to give this one?
4.
4? Wow.
Yep.
Well,
again, listen, I thought it was acted very well. I thought the scenery was beautiful. Better than Miri, better than Shore Leave, but it's an incomplete story. So if it was just a bad story, it would have been a 5, but it's an incomplete story, so it's a 4. It's not annoying. It's not like, again, Return of the Archons, which I think I gave a 3, because that was just a gobbledygook blender mess. But yeah,
I think you gave Return of the Archons a 4. I'll have to check that out. But I will tell you that I'm going to give it a 6. Actually, I don't think it's that wonderful either. It doesn't have the fight music though of Shore Leave, which I know you love. So there's that.
You're going to cue it right now. I do love when you put it in.
I know. Anytime you mention it, I'm going to play it forever. And I actually still like Return of the Archons. But this is a very incomplete story. I agree. It's kind of like, okay, we're here now. We're going. It's got sort of an A and B story. The A being Spock and his love, Kirk and his love, which is either Spock and the Enterprise or both. And I guess a C-ish story of the colonists. But it really was kind of lacking on everything.
Again, and just compared to Space Seed and Taste of Armageddon, where it's like strong sci-fi concepts that you've never even seen before, trailblazing, pushing out into the future, writers whose imagination is doing more, is like almost being prescient with what's going to come because they're being such good writers and so imaginative. Compared to this, it's like, whatever, a slog.
Well, for me,
anyway, listen. Let's wrap this up, though.
All right, but just real quick, this episode means to me just as like a light adventure. But I will tell you, that's pretty much about it. So I will just tell you what our next episode is, and all I will give you as a hint: are you ready to rock, Mike?
Well, I saw the first 10 seconds of it because Amazon started to play it, and I was like, "Oh my god, this looks amazing! This looks right up my alley."
The
looks
Devil
like a horror movie.
That's right. It's called The Devil in the Dark, and all I just want you to remember is, are you ready to rock? And that's all you need to know. That's our next episode of Yelling at Gaseous Anomalies, which will be our next episode coming on up as soon as possible. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and remember to email us at yellingatgas@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out our TeePublic store and get some T-shirts and some merchandise. And again, everyone, thanks for subscribing, and we hope we see more and hear more from you as the episodes go along, and we'll see you next time. So, Mike, anything you want to tell our fans out there?
Thank you for the support. Live long and prosper, and welcome Marlowe to the universe.
Yes, Ensign Marlowe, report to the bridge. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you out there.